lovers, and welcome along to episode 14 of The Music Gaga. I'm your host, Ben Hockings, and you're in for a special treat today because I have a friend of mine who I've known for not too long, it's a few years, through a couple of different, industries in a way, but he's here today to talk to us about his experience in the industry itself, in music, and without any further ado, I'd like to welcome along Ryley Smithson. How you going, Ryley?
Good, great. This is going to be interesting to be on this side.
It will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should explain that because I found out about you first because my wife was kind of half in love with you a bit because she used to listen to you on the Drive show at Fresh.
Yeah.
Because I was back in those days, I was into more of a cruise FM type guy, and she was the doof type when I first met her, and she was like, "But this guy Ryley on the radio." I'm like, "Who's Ryley?" You know? And so you were a DJ with Fresh?
Yeah. So I started as a listener, and then I moved into a member because it's a community organisation. And then I was DJing around town, and I got the call up one day that they were doing some shows. Like just some trials, just to get some fresh talent on. So I did a couple of them, and I'm lucky. My nervous default is to talk more. I mean, as you can tell, like I taught the year off anything. So, so I'm perfectly suited to. I'm perfectly suited. I was playing commercial pop music at that point. So playing, getting like hit with the radio thing was pretty it was my ballpark. Yeah. And so I ended up getting a trial there, and then moved into doing a specialty show, which is their nighttime stuff. I hosted a show called The Kitchen for 2 years, on Tuesday nights, and I chose Tuesday nights for a lot of reasons. I knew my market well. Like it was basically just like what day do people do nothing? Yep. What day do people do a lot of sport? So I knew a lot of young people were going to be in the car. I knew that they were going to be tuned in, and I knew I was going to have them locked. So. I chose Tuesdays, did that for 2 years, and then a content manager there asked me to put together a bit of a proposal for the Drive show, and so I hosted Drive for 2 years as well, and it was 2 years of working out how to DJ in basically primetime semi-commercial radio, because Fresh acts and looks like a commercial radio station from the outside. It's a community radio station, but the quality of the equipment and everything is well above what you get in a.
It was very well run. You could tell by listening to it. You couldn't open that or any main station.
It is the largest community radio station in Australia. I think it tends to swap between first and second with a Christian station in the eastern states. So Fresh, I think by either listenership or by revenue, well, definitely by revenue, it's the largest. Yeah.
Well, Fresh, I think you kind of ruined it for Courtney when you left because she felt things went downhill. Ben and Liam left as well, and she now listens to ABC Talkback. Yeah, so
I listen to ABC Talkback as well.
No, YouTube Talk. I don't know something's going on here.
Yeah. I did my thing. I had my time, and when they looked like they were making like a few big changes, and they were asking me to make too many changes. I'm way more interested in the music than I am in the. Yeah.
That's good to hear.
I did a specialty show because I enjoyed the music, and then I did a drive time show because I got to do it my way, and then when I didn't get to do it the way that I wanted, then. You just sort of lose interest. And it's a community radio station, I wasn't doing it for the money.
So
it's not
for the love, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. So the moment I stopped loving it, it was like, okay, cool.
That's when you're out.
Time to go on. Yeah.
You weren't keen on going further with radio? That wasn't a really big...
I just didn't see that there was an option for me to do what I wanted to do, and do it on a... So the traditional radio pathway is to go for a community radio job that you do in your local city, wherever you are, or work in the kind of community organisations or small time radio there, just being a runner, and then after that you move into doing regional radio. So you leave where you are and then go out to a regional station, and then the regional station, you basically become part of their talent pool, and they pull you back to one of the capital cities if you're one of the cream of the crop.
Yeah. So it's a fairly set pathway.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Well, like every commercial radio station in Adelaide is their music programming comes out of a lot of testing, and there's a lot of testing that goes into it. There's a lot of preference that goes into it. There's a lot of control from the eastern states, whatever they're doing, charts, record labels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fresh 927, I had complete freedom. Like if I wanted to play a certain song at a certain time, within reason, I could get away with it. And I did. But the secret was to always have that balance between this is what the crowd kind of wants. This is what I know the station sort of wants. And then it would almost like 20% me. So I like free reign 20%. So I got reign over whatever I'd play, the timing of it. There were certain songs that I had to hit per hour that I was on drive. But I got to choose where those landed and in what order. But it makes sense. So I'm going to ruin commercial radio for everyone because all music on commercial radio is programmed around this thing called it's listener retention, basically. So you get basically a song that you know and love, like a classic song, like a throwback, and then you'll get like a piece of new music or a piece of music that's like kind of unfamiliar, and then you'll get like an absolute favorite of what's happening right now, and then you'll get a classic. So one in three.
Formula.
Yeah, and that's how a DJ would play a DJ set anyway. Like I'd play something that I know the crowd's into, and then okay, cool. Like where are they at? Can I be a bit more risky? And the further I could push the crowd is based of like how they responded to that piece of new music. Can I do 2 pieces of new music in a row? So radio programming is basically DJ programming, but done on a wider, safer scale where you can't actually see what your audience is doing or saying.
And how do you get the feedback about your personal? How do you know that your personal choice is taken on by the listeners?
You don't. We did a lot of social media where people could interact with the station in the real time. The radio industry uses this thing called surveys. So there's 2 large survey companies that do the 2 segments of the market. I think it's McNair's on something else where I don't know how they're doing it now, but when I was there, they were doing this thing called books. So they'd send out a book, and you'd just like tick off like what do you listen to at 8 till 9 in the morning? What do you listen to? Like when do you listen? Like how engaged are you? Like and all this sort of thing. What breakfast? I think it's even like what breakfast cereal do you eat and stuff like that. Right. It's a big kind of like document, and depending on where that book was released within. Like because usually they'll do it within like a suburb or something like that or a bounds. This is kind of what I know about it. I'm not an expert in this, and honestly, I think it's like the radio industry hangs so much on these books and so much on these ratings, and what people do. But it's just so like frivolous. Like it's so frivolous. Like we're getting like a 2% change. It's like, oh, we're number 1 in the ratings now and stuff like that. But like really, it's based off people filling out like a paper survey at their house about like it's just so.
There's no like black box on their radio like TV has that randomly selects people to determine the larger populations. Listening habits. I
think now they've probably got that with they've got access to that with maybe digital or with their apps and stuff like that. But radio's kind of going towards podcasting anyway. Like you see Spotify's kind of dominating. I think the moment Spotify opens itself up to content, like radio program content, it'll be an absolute game changer. They've started that with that. They bought that Joe Rogan's podcast. Like $100 million.
So I'm for sale if you have.
And they bought another company that I listen to called Gimlet Media as well. So they've got millions of listeners and
make a note of that.
Gimlet was a big one. I think it was their first acquisition, and then they bought that outright, and then they licensed Joe Rogan. So that was quite an interesting one. But like they're
starting to push into new territory now. Like
Yeah.
they're going with a broadcaster.
Yeah.
That's the controversy, isn't it?
Well,
they're not paying the same license fees and whatnot as a broadcaster does. So
yeah, for a long time I was thinking that when Spotify first came out and you started hearing, like, Spotify kind of came out around about when Lean On came out by Major Lazer, and then there was like the middle by Bipolar Sunshine and DJ Snake, and then after that there was just a whole bunch of very similar. Do you notice how kind of like everything sounds like Ed Sheeran?
isn't it just what's this me?
No.
Anything of that. Okay.
No. Everything kind of sounds like it's because I feel like if once you get like a song which dominates the streams, everyone just goes, cool, this dominates the streams. That's all.
Do a similar style.
Like, have you heard of what was it? Tin Pan Alley?
No.
So Tin Pan Alley was this, I think it was like 1920s in it must have been like New Orleans or something like that. I'm not too sure on it, but I don't know the specifics about it, but I know what happened there, which was it was a whole bunch of pianos in one building, and everyone in that building was writing pop music. Like, I think it was like pianolas, where like pianos with the self-playing rolls were quite big at the time, and so they were writing songs for everyone to commercially consume on pianolas and stuff like that. So it basically became like a music production kind of space. Yeah. But can you imagine like 100 pianos in the same room, like in a warehouse? Yeah. Like everyone's copying everyone, so everyone's melodies sound the same. Yeah. And so it became like this, everything that came out of Tin Pan Alley sounded identical. I feel like that's Spotify. Yeah, that's like a bigger version of that. Yeah. Everyone's listening to like Spotify, and like it's basically becoming its own kind of beast where everything sounds like, oh, what are you writing that for? I'm writing it to go on this playlist on Spotify. I'm writing towards this direction. So the people that are curating the playlist, because they rely on the curation of playlists on Spotify, don't they? Yeah. I think it's like 30% of lists on Spotify are Spotify curated. So people just leave up to Spotify to determine what they want to. Yeah. So that's a massive chunk of people just, you just do it for me type of thing. So and I do fear that it's making music a bit more generic a little bit, because you're not getting those little quirky songs that used to find their way into the mainstream sometimes. I really feel like that's where a radio host or a radio presenter really has a lot of power, particularly someone that knows the market, knows the industry, and knows when to take a risk. I remember like we would sit in certain music meetings at Fresh, and because we're quite an agile company, like if I got a piece of new music in my inbox and I knew that I got it before anyone else in the world, because there would be like a day that everyone would release their music. It would be like a Thursday or a Friday. All the music would come out. So I'd get an email while I was on air, which was at 3 p.m, which was like, 6 a.m. in Europe or something like that. Yeah. I'd be getting like a European release, and I'd be dropping it before any other radio station could touch it, because I saw it come in, click download on the laptop, edit it, put it in the software, play it on the show that day. And that was really fun. I got to take a lot of risks with that. But sometimes you just, it's the curation side of things. I think when people have like a radio station or a curator that they trust, like Spotify with curating that list, they say, oh, just take me on a journey with it. Trust in inverted commas, But I think with Spotify, they play it a lot safer with like, oh, what are people skipping? It's down to an art. But sometimes, I don't know, I equate it back to being because basically it's a DJ set without a DJ. Yeah. Even radio is a DJ set without a DJ, really. Sometimes I look at a dance floor and I'm like, I need to play something that you'll hate. Yeah. Like I need you guys to simmer down. I need you to rein you in. You can't be on all the time, can you? It can't be like on the go, because I think it's boring after a while. You know. And also, like, people get quite resistant after a while. You get it's like being in a loud room. You become accustomed to being in a loud room, but your eyes adjust to the darkness better without, and then you flick a bright light on, you're like, you can't see. Sometimes someone needs to sit in the background, like the DJ needs to sit there with the dimmer and just like dim it down a little bit, and then just like
Go buy some more drinks and come back and we'll play some better music type thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just let the crowd kind of come and go and play with them a little bit. So if I want a crowd, like when I was playing clubs and I had to keep a crowd round till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I know that all I need to do is to show the manager that at 3:45 it looks like he won't need to call last drinks at 4. I knew that I just needed to play winners between 3:45 and 4, just to really capture that market. And then after that, I could really just like lean it out for a little bit and then bring them back at 4:15. Like I basically had like time just to kind of lean it out and stuff.
Yeah.
And then if I wanted those drunk people to stick around right till the end and have like this huge finish, I had to like start taking them on a journey and really kind of just making sure that they were pleasant and happy in that area in that time, but not expending a lot of energy, saving it up a little bit and then bringing them right back, towards the end. And sometimes it works with crowds. It's not like a...
It's not,
Yeah.
We're onto it now. You told us that story, that secret. We'll be like, that, we're standing right here until you play some good music.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an outlook. We'll come back to that shortly. I talked about sort of the industry in general and what your thoughts are with streaming platforms. But I want to come back to you a little bit and talk about like how did you first start in music? Like, when did you realise that music was a big part of your life, and who was your inspiration? Like, who did you listen to way back?
I think the standard question is like, my parents listened to a lot. I was exposed to music at a lot. I think everyone's parents exposed to music at a young age. My dad always played the guitar and stuff like that, and he still does. And I wasn't like particularly musical family and stuff like that. I did enjoy like singing as a kid and putting on dance parties in my backyard for my neighbours and stuff like that. I never really played the music or performed or anything like that. It was just sort of like, come on, let's do this thing. Which is kind of like it echoes now. I think I can peg my musical influences, my taste, down to like basically 3 months worth of Rage. Like the TV show from like... It wasn't
like angry, it was like Rage on TV. Rage.
From Rage, at like 3 a.m, like when they used to have the guests on, they used to have the guest selectors, and one of the guest selectors was Fatboy Slim, another one was the Beastie Boys, and another one was like a hip-hop artist and stuff like that. And there was like a period for a couple of weeks where I had a VCR in my room and I would set it to automatically record overnight. And
for those who aren't familiar, Rage is a long-running show on one of our TV station, ABC, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's been going for like 30, 40 years now.
Yeah.
It's a music show.
Yeah, so it's because it's part of the ABC. I think when the ABC pulls like a top-tier guest in, they say, cool, so we need you for the entire day. It's going to be an entire day worth of filming. So you go in, you do like a breakfast interview at this time, and then you do like a Rage interview, and then you do like an afternoons interview, and then you do some TV content, and then you do some spots and stuff like that. So they really like use these artists when they come in. They on Sunday mornings, like quite late Saturday night, Sunday morning, they would have a curated artist section where they'd have international and national artists talking about their music styles and their influences and stuff like that. And I remember Fatboy Slim playing Outkast, and it's the first time I'd heard something as crazy as Outkast. And I remember he played Bombs Over Baghdad, which is and he played Fresh So Clean. And that was, I don't know, that was probably about 2000 sort of area, maybe 99. It was definitely before I started going to music festivals and stuff like that. So that's kind of exactly where my music taste has come from, listening to those DJs and stuff. Yeah.
All right, because they still do that. I think they still got those guests that come in and I used to love being up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and they play like an annual end of the year. They play like the top 50 or top 100 clips, and I'd be awake all night watching that. This is crazy.
I missed some film clips. I haven't watched a good film clip session in a while. Maybe I'll just
I'm really bad. Like I go to if I go to a club back in my day, or go to a restaurant like Holly's Breath used to have clips playing over TV. I'd be there all night watching TV.
Watch the TV.
Like, hey, you're at dinner table, like, talk to us. I'm like, no. It's like, Someone's playing on the on a pad.
Yeah.
So distracting,
Yeah, I sit. Don't worry, I sit facing away from TVs. I can't have a TV. I can't have a TV in my periphery.
Yeah,
it can't happen because
Otherwise
I'll just lose. There's no TV here right now. I'm talking fantastic.
My dream one day is have like a mansion with a screen in every room, TV screen, and I just play clips all day.
You get nothing done.
No, that's right. Room to room. I was like, I've moved at least.
Yeah.
So yeah. Cool. And so when did you move into like DJing? Like how did you? That's quite a big. From liking music to.
So I was going to this underage disco down at Glenelg called Sam's Disco, which is sort of like a long running thing that happened at a church.
Yep. And
you got to go there when you were between the ages of 11 and 15, and then when I turned 16 I could no longer go. But all my friends were a year younger than me, so I had to find a way to keep going. And so I...
There's no beard back then, obviously.
No beard.
So it's a beard right now, but it was clean shaven.
I was I wasn't hairy at 16, but I remember like my final year of before I changed schools. So it would have been year 10. I remember teachers telling me, you need to shave and you need to cut your hair. And I'm just going to leave.
That's right. Like, no way.
Yeah, it's like, stop. Like, it's like, why do I have to? This isn't military. I'm not joining. Right. I won't do well in the military.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so I started DJing at I started doing... like working there, doing a little bit of supervision of the other kids, and being a kid myself, which was kind of weird. And then they knew what I was in for. They knew that I was there just to hang out with my friends, and I had to find a way and sit in a corner and supervise kind of thing.
Yep.
But slowly I started playing the music, and then I started DJing. I bought some DJ equipment, and I was horrible. For a long time.
Monica, what was your DJ name?
I think it was RSI. Because I
literally.
I kept getting a sore foot because I'd stomp my foot so much while I was DJing.
So you're enjoying yourself?
Yeah. That's why my calves are so good right now.
That's right.
I mean, we've got COVID on at the moment, so I'm obviously not doing a lot of gigs.
Your calves are shrinking.
Your calves are shrinking. Yeah.
Get some practice in.
Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. Yeah. And then from there, I just I'd been doing some like flyer and promotion stuff for some other underage nightclubby stuff, like getting some friends and stuff around it and selling tickets and everything. And I think, what everyone currently says, if you want to become a DJ, you should probably learn to meet people and do it. I was doing that when I was 15, 16, 17. I was promoting shows. Even 18, I was going to underage shows and selling tickets and stuff like that still to things and running shows. And then so when it came time, when I turned 18, I was already playing, I started playing weddings, which was a mistake. I wasn't
Adam Sandler with the sad band.
No, I'm more of like a guy who'd never actually attended a wedding trying to play music at a wedding. It's completely changed now. I own a wedding company, so
so just to give some perspective, you're 18. What year was it when you were 18?
It was 18 in 2004.
4, okay.
Yeah.
2004 you're playing.
Yeah. So 2004, which I think it was a really good era for music, and I was also 2004 and 2003 is sort of when I started going to big day outs as well and seeing a lot of live bands. And I've always been someone who just gets inspiration from absolutely everywhere, every band, every single song and stuff like that. I'm not really set in one genre. I'm really set in the mood and the energy and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm on a real big metalcore thing at the moment where I'm really enjoying metalcore. Yeah.
What's metalcore? Who's
metalcore is like the it's like almost like the.
Is it bigger, heavier than Metallica? Heavier?
Yeah, so imagine it's like screamo rock style music, but it's almost at the point where screamo rock crosses over into dancey sort of stuff. So we're talking they're using digital drums, digital guitars. There's a bit of dance music in computerized input into the rock world.
So you cross like Pantera with the poppy or a dancey type.
It's even
heavier again.
More of more of like further across the spectrum than Pendulum. Yeah. So remember how Pendulum, they became from being DJs and then they did the live band thing?
I didn't know that DJs, but yeah.
Yeah, they started as DJs and then they moved into doing the live band, live set thing, where they had guitars and keyboard up on stage and drums.
Yeah.
Imagine Pendulum a little bit more rocky.
Okay.
Like, so crossing over in that sort of territory there. So metalcore is metal a bit more dancey, but dance music a bit more rocky kind of thing. Yeah.
So is that kind of is that a new genre, or has that been around for a while?
I think it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
I think it's been around for but it's kind of like a pretty niche kind of genre. It's never really had its heyday or anything like that.
And does that sort of perforate your playlist when you're
No.
weddings or anything?
The stuff that I listen to is completely different to the stuff that I play.
Yeah, that's the trick. I think. Do you think so? DJs, I think, an unrecognised part of it is you need to be able to be a people person. And be able to read people, and that's a real skill.
Well, I think there's two types of DJs. There's people that have, so the people that do one really well, I'm the other. I can't do it well.
Yeah.
So there's there's DJs that people please. Yep. I love being a people pleaser DJ. I love the energy, the mood, curating a playlist. I love meeting people on their level and going, where are you at? And I want to take you there. And I want to do, which is why I suit the wedding market really well. Like, making sure people have a good time and like changing genres and changing styles constantly. Yep. Where there's the other side of DJs, which are the people that create like a really big artistic product where they stick to like one or two quite specific genres. They move between maybe like, whereas I'd be saying, oh yeah, I played a little bit of like house music and then played a little bit of like disco and then rock music and then like went back into some hip hop and stuff. They'd be saying, oh, I went from vocal house to progressive house, and then I finished off with some tribal house. Like they're like they're like that's the progression of their set. It's quite like a narrow band. And I do that really badly. I've every set that I've played at HQ on the main stage, when I played there, I did a very bad job at. Well, I didn't do as good a job as my friends that are really good at curating one specific playlist that suits that one specific environment. Yeah,
and you're being self-critical here. Like, that wasn't them saying to you were rubbish.
No. That's and like
off the list, black mark.
When I first.
S7, definitely no.
When I first, I got an interesting story about when I played that at Red Square. It was my final set at Red Square ever. And so, towards the end of my set, I just played the a cappella of Don't Stop Moving, so just the vocals, and everyone was expecting it to drop at some point. And it's just... I just played the vocals.
And then finished, and they were like, well, and where's the rest of it?
I just played the next song. My first set that I ever played at HQ, the reason why I got one of my first gigs in town is I was working for Nova, the radio station, as a promotions person. They got me to record some audio at HQ on like a Wednesday night. So I think there was some sort of radio crossover promotion thing that I was doing, and so I had to record a piece of audio. And while I was there, I got talking to like one of the guys from HQ who worked at the building, and he's like, oh, his name's Blake, and he's a booker now. He books DJs for tons and tons of venues all around Australia. And he said to me, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I work here and I DJ a little bit and I'm studying as well. And he goes, oh, cool, what kind of music do you play? And I was like, I noticed that he was kind of like a little bit interested, and I was like, to be honest, I play nothing of like this kind of stuff, nothing what you do on a Saturday night. Like, I'm like really like saying, I don't do what you want here. I'm different. Like, and I'm not expecting like a positive result out of this. I'm being quite honest about, hey, I'm not your Saturday DJ. Like, to be honest, like everything you play on the main room, I don't play that. Off your list, I play pretty much like A to Z everything you don't play in the main room. And a week later he called me up and goes, so we're starting a new night in the main room and we want to put on a side room at the same time. And we don't want you to play what's in the main room, so can you just come and do what you do?
You're trying to do the opposite of what you were telling you to, like, you're out of a job and then all of a sudden you get a job.
Yeah, and like in like looking back on, like, after running shows and being in those venues for a long time, I think there's a big thing to wanting to be the side DJ. There's a big thing to wanting to be the warm up DJ. There's a big thing to knowing your place, and there's a big thing to go, well, if the main room's doing this, and I know everyone wants to be there, like, get in the side room, like, you know.
Like the B side of a hit, you know.
Yeah,
a hit on one side and you flip it over and that's where the deep cut is type thing. So.
Exactly. And I got to do exactly what I wanted, and because it was my first... so, like, this worked out really well for me because I was because I'd done so much promotion at the underages and so much promotion, like, all of my friends were just... Like, one of my mates was one of the biggest promoters of HQ, and he never used to go there. His job he worked in clothing stores, and so people would come in wanting an outfit for that night so they could go out, or this weekend, or it's my friend's birthday, where are you going? It's like, oh, you know, we're hitting town, stuff like that. Or he'd go, well, here's 10 free tickets for HQ. You just have to be there before 10. And they'd be like, sweet. So he'd get the clothing sale. He'd hit all of his targets for the day at his stores. And then he'd be like getting $1 on his drink card for every person that used a free entry card before 10 o'clock.
He was set.
Yeah, he was set. It also really helped that he was my mate. And so when I started when I started playing there, he's just like hammering it out, and all of the mates had rocked up. And so I ended up being...
You became the main room, did you?
I didn't end up in the main room, no. But
you became the main room.
I became
in your room.
Pretty much, like, you know, because it was Friday night at HQ, and the big nights were the Wednesdays and the Saturdays. So when they started the Friday, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we think we can get something to happen." Like, you know, obviously there was not much going on, and there was quite well established DJs playing on the Friday in the main room, and you know, there comes a point in your career where people just, like, it comes pretty soon after you start, where people stop coming out and seeing you play because, like, your friends...
They know what to expect type thing, or...
and they're like, oh, well, I've been to the venue, like, 3 times in a row. I'm kind of done with it. So, there was, like, a good 1 month period where everyone saw me smash it, and then I ended up playing, like, a whole bunch of different venues.
You had your groupies,
Yeah.
I'm sure Courtney would have gone to see you play if she was if she felt young enough to go watch you play. Did you get groupies at all? Like, not in terms of, like, the old school, but regular faces that you'd always see?
Yeah. I'd see regular faces and stuff, but I think they were less about me, more about, like, who was around at the time. I think the first time I really noticed that there was a little bit of a following was when I first played Future Music Festival. I played in the Silent Disco, and before I started there was a lineup to get in, and, like, I've never been cool. And I've always, like, I've never been...
You're cool because you're not cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's always been, like, an echelon of cool kids that, like, you know, from high school and stuff like and nightclubs and then working in radio and stuff like that. Like, no matter what, there was always sort of, like, a section of people that would always be, like, rudely block you out. And... No, I shouldn't say rudely block you out, because it describes them as making a conscious choice. I feel like they don't make a choice to do it. I feel like...
just a reaction, like
I feel like everyone, like, was it ducks swim together? What is it, like, ducks fly together?
Birds of a feather.
Yeah. So there's that, and I'm not that. But, like, there was a period where... like, when I played Future Music, where there was, like, a bit of a lineup, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting and stuff like that. And I've always feel like I kind of make... Like, I'm very aware of what cool is and where it is, and I think it's totally a metric. It's totally, like...
But do you use that for your lists and stuff? Obviously, you know what's cool. You know,
Yeah. I know that... I know kind of what it requires. It's real easy to purchase.
Yeah.
Cool's so easy to purchase.
Yeah, it's for sale, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, all it takes to have a cool cafe is like the right brand of coffee, the right haircut on the barista, and the right design of
the right style, and then the coffee.
Yeah, and the right interior. And so when I was doing like HQ and stuff like that, I was definitely uncool.
You're uncool.
I was on the outer. Like I still am, and I'm still really, really happy to be.
You're cool in waiting.
No. No. I kind of just like I've always taken the long term. I've always taken the long term approach that, like if you play your cards right, then. Like cool kids, they just come and go.
They do.
Like you just keep doing what you're doing, and they just come and like it comes and goes.
Like factory, isn't it? Just next one's come along, and
next
one after that.
Yeah. I think everyone like when they start going out to town or they start going clubbing or something, there's this the idea that this is the heyday and stuff like that, and this is the and this is cool and all the music and stuff like that, and like being like I've DJ'd for about 18 years now, like come and go in town, and it's. Every club has its heyday, and then it gets rebuilt, and then something else has its heyday, and then
crowd comes along. Reciprocal, isn't it? It's kind of like school in a way. Like you got to go to this club for a couple of years to graduate to the next club. And
I mean, like when you talk to teachers about like the group of students that they have coming through. They might have like a couple of years that are kind of influencing off each other, and they're the certain type of students, and there's a certain type of rebellion that happens, a certain type of thing. It's like, and the best way to equate it is like when the first kid rocks up with a yo-yo.
Yeah, all of a sudden.
And then like a week later, yo-go. If the uncool kid rocks up with a yo-yo, no one buying yo-yos.
The coolest kid is the kid who brings it to school the first time. Like you're just following someone's trend,
So these trends just happen. These trends happen, and you watch them come and you watch them go.
Now, have you ever had... I've been watching this film, like this YouTube stuff of this a lady in America, Holly, who does signing at like rap concerts, Eminem. She's amazing. Like, do you have signers at your gigs?
No.
Like, sign like for deaf people.
Yeah. No, but I have played a DJ gig to deaf people once.
Oh, right.
I played it for free just to know what it was like. I was just so interested in the whole idea. Because the person that I did it for said, look, they feed off a lot of the bass of the music, they feel the beat, so we want that sort of like specific kind of sound and all this sort of stuff. Like one thing is deaf people like to have the lights on.
Yep.
So that they can talk to each other.
Yes.
And I didn't realise that. So I'm sitting there trying to turn the lights down, and they're like, we can't talk.
What are you saying? What? I can't.
They can't. And of course, they're using hands.
Does someone tell you to turn lights up again? Or?
Yeah. They're like, oh, we can't talk. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I learnt that one. Yeah. And the other thing I learnt was it's as if you have a full room of hundreds and hundreds of people, you are probably playing to that room as if it's only a quarter full.
Right.
Because a quarter of the people can hear the music you're playing, not well, partial hearing, and the people around them that are fully deaf will take social cues off what they do.
Yeah.
So they'll see the other people dancing, they'll know that, oh, this is a socially acceptable thing that we are doing right now. This song is good, and this, I can see the other person's moving to this beat, so I'll move to that beat. Wow. So the room is almost, it's full, but you're playing to a quarter of the people there. Yeah. So if you wanted to have like a raging party there, you just need to get a quarter of the people just to have the best time of their life, and everyone else will.
Yeah. They're kind of like atoms, some start moving and the next atom will start moving.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't seen it before, I would definitely, if you're listening, YouTube this lady, like she is just like a twister who's like the recognised world's fastest rapper. Yeah. She signs like his music like live at a concert, and she is just, her hands are like bang, 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 bang. Yeah. It's mesmerising to watch. Like, it's just phenomenal. So like a Holly Mariarty or something like that.
Yeah. I'll give her a Google. Yeah, great. No, I've had no one sign my music yet.
Okay, well if you're listening and you're a signer. All right.
Auslan remix.
The what?
Auslan remix.
Yeah. I like it. So I want to quick chat to you about the industry in general, and what your thoughts are on how things have progressed through the years. So obviously, because you're a young'un, kind of like you have been, CDs were your era.
Yeah.
And then MP3 came along in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
How do you feel it's kind of all gone for music? Like, we all know it's sort of gone into a bit of a bin, piracy and stuff, and it's coming out of it now. But
yeah,
do you feel like it's on the right track again, or?
I think that it's probably better than ever. Like, I honestly feel like music is, like, the industry as a whole is better than ever. I think there's way more opportunity to be independent. There is way more small record labels. There's way more disruption happening. I think the way that things are going is different. The way that things are changing a lot, and you've got to really, like, move with the punches and stuff. But an artist can... I mean, yesterday we saw the closure of a whole bunch of announcement that they're closing a whole bunch of, like, men's magazines and women's magazines around because, there's people are going straight to the celebrities directly on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. They're connecting with them on social media. So why do they need a third party to tell them what is going on? Like, they can just listen to it directly. So when it comes to musicians, like, you can pre-order something off someone's website. You can pre-order something on Spotify. You can pre-order using your credit card details. You don't have to wait at the record store. I feel like music is the majority of it is disposable, but I feel like there was always a segment of the market that was disposable. I feel like there was always part of it that was... I mean, like, if you look at if you look at all of the pop music that came out in, like, the 80s and 90s and stuff like that, you can probably, like, reduce it down to a couple of, like, really, really good songs that you can think back on and go, cool, bam, bam, bam. These are the defining moments in the genres and the eras and stuff like that. Like Avicii was for 2012 dance music. I mean, no one really remembers a lot to do with 2012 dance music other than Avicii Levels. Like, and that will be the song that kind of progresses on. There's, like, that keystone, and then there's probably a couple of others that sit below it that you'll think back on and go...
Which song in particular? The Avicii song? Wake Me Up? Or no?
I think Wake Me Up's a good one, but Levels probably is the one that really kind of hit home, like, that's the song that's sampled... Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's kind of the thing, but it really, with music right now, there's a lot of opportunities for artists, and there's a lot less opportunities for labels to kind of be involved in it. I feel like labels are almost turning into it. Money collection and touring companies and businesses, as opposed to, like, artist development and stuff. The last artist I actually heard of being developed was Lorde. And I think she got developed the old school way, where someone saw her quite early on performing at like, she was at a school performance, and they were sitting there just going, well, they work for a record label, and they said, well, like, this person's got, like, a good history, and a good chance of being someone. So they spent, like, 6 years developing her as she went through school, writing albums, writing songs and stuff like that. And the moment she left school, they went, okay, cool, you're releasing your debut album. And I feel like that's a game changer. That's long term kind of thinking.
And labels are kind of, they feel like they're being made a bit redundant in a way, like the platforms for streaming, they're kind of the ones in charge now, aren't they?
And on the other side of things, whenever you've got, like, you say that things aren't kind of... There's always, like, a dip in the middle. So it's like a bell curve where, on one side, the labels are really working on, like, a few big name artists and doing, like, a few big things. And then they're kind of, like, there's a trail off where they're, like, resampling and repromoting other labels. So they're kind of, like, almost distributors for other record companies. And then... on the complete other end, you've got, like, there's a local label run by a guy, and all he does is vinyl pressings of old songs that he really likes. And I think his name's Kevin. I don't know his record label. but he presses vinyl,
Right.
and re-releases songs that he loves. So he gets a license to them and then puts them back out. And so he's a curator there, and he's curating his own record label. I think there's a lot of scope for that.
So he has no artist per se signed?
No. He just takes a song that's already been released, thinks that it will suit his label, and then re-releases it under his label.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In like a mix or like would...
No, on vinyl, just as a single side 12-inch sort of like a
Who would have thought there'd be a market for that? You know?
Yeah, but I feel like if we were talking the 80s, you wouldn't be able to do that, because it'd be you and your local record shop, and that would be your distribution and stuff, and you weren't in that game. Now I feel like there's so many more
opportunities, or
for people to find his records and buy it on a marketplace and stuff like that. So at the same time, we're seeing things kind of really go narrow and pointy at one end, they're getting quite wide at the other. I guess that's the best way to put it.
There's so many you could argue either for or against, couldn't you, really, with way digital music especially. Like, do you think that the compressed nature of it now is different sound quality than it used to be, like with definitely noticeable?
Because vinyl's compressed two ways, so you can't have one groove go into the other groove. So you've got to have the needle go straight down the center. It can't go too far left and right. So it's got to be compressed left and right. It's got to be compressed volume wise up and down. So it's and it's got to be processed so that the needle can read it properly. So it's definitely that kind of EQ and that processing and stuff that happen to make it work for a vinyl medium. And then also you've got the degradation of the needle going over the top, so it sounds different way. And it's rarer, it feels rarer, it takes more effort for you to put it on, so it feels kind of nicer. And
it's
now
the experience just about, isn't it? You got to physically take it out of the sleeve and put it on.
But I've got stuff that I listen to on vinyl that I haven't listened to on MP3. I don't own it on MP3. I haven't listened to it. I don't listen to it in the car. I only listen to it when I pull my record out and chuck it on and go, this is great.
You don't sound as down on the industry as many people.
No.
Because you were very busy before the COVID-19 thing.
So I had my busiest summer ever. I was programming music. I was programming entertainment for 4 venues. I do equipment hire for venues as well. And then my own personal performance on top of that. So I was organising DJs and stuff like that. And then last season I was booked out from start of October 2019 till the end of May 2020. Like every weekend, Friday, Saturday. Which is for that's all I can hope for. I mean, I'm basically living the dream.
So you start hiring someone else to do it for you, then it's But you do have people who work for you too, don't you?
I have DJs that will do venues for me, but when I'm doing like and corporate shows, but when it comes to doing like a private show, like a wedding, I won't trust someone else to do a wedding anymore. It's just me. Until I come across someone that I feel kind of gets what I'm about and gets the kind of way that I handle things with clients. But I think there's a really good book on the topic called Small Giants. Where I think it's Bo Birmingham. I'm not too sure. I could be getting confused with a comedian.
Could be a funny book.
But it's called Small Giants, and it's about companies that choose to be great, not be big. So you can either chase the eternal profit, which does not work in the context of a creative industry.
Never has.
You can be good in business when you're a business, but you can't really be good at business when you're a creative, because it's left right. So I just let the kind of left brain stuff go, and I accept that there's going to be a limit on what I can possibly do with my time, and work on creating a better quality product as opposed to creating a carbon copy of what I put out there, or a lesser copy of what I put out there.
Right. And so you think the future is pretty like on the right path then with music.
Yeah. I think that there'll always be this segment where everyone loves nostalgia. Everyone thinks back. I think back fondly on my time of going to Big Day Out as being some of the best festivals that there were, and there will be no more like it. But then I look at videos of Woodstock and Santana playing what was it? He was on LSD while he was doing his set at Woodstock, and watching the YouTube footage of that is just...
You can't tell.
yeah. It's definitely psychedelic rock. But to be in the crowd at that time, witnessing that, there's mud everywhere. It would have been so hard to get food. Those people would have been out there in the sun, no water. There's no crowd care.
No.
And there's people just shredding up on stage.
And they loved it.
I kind of feel like if I'm feeling nostalgic for Big Day Out, there's no way that I can possibly say that this was the best time of music, because everyone has its
their own experience, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I do wonder, there's a band that comes, a cover band that plays at the Gulf here twice a year normally without the virus, withstanding, called Never Ending 80s. And I've been to 5 of their 6 shows. They play a very similar set, but I just love, and it's packed, it's always sold out, two nights in a row. But I often wonder, will that be a similar thing in 20 years' time, where the kids of today will have a retro band for the 2000s.
Yeah.
And I personally can't see it because I don't really I follow music nowadays, but the experience I have now is different to what I had when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there will be bands like them playing in the 2030s.
Yeah.
Do you think that would happen? There are songs nowadays that people will rock out to in 20 years' time?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's interesting because the market has been declining steadily. The hospitality market has been declining steadily for 10 years. Kids, I think 2004, which is my graduating year, was the first year where alcohol started to decline. Alcohol sales, kids were drinking less.
Right.
And I put that straight down to a much more health conscious lifestyle. Everyone's a lot McDonald's wasn't selling apple slices when I was a kid.
Because you're all home on Napster.
Downloading
stuff.
The kids are drinking a lot less. They're as alcohol becomes more expensive and drugs have become a lot cheaper, obviously that's kind of a viable option for a lot of kids these days.
Yep.
And we don't need to go into that if you don't want to, but I've got a
it's a whole new podcast.
It's all a means to the end. It's all if people want to get to a certain zone and listen to the music, and I've always been the type of person that is the times I worked in clubs I was majority sober. I'm still sober at all of my gigs. I might have a wine or two. I might have a beer, but I drive to and from every gig.
You have to do all your stuff in your van.
Yeah. And also I don't need it. I'm not that person that kind of needs it. But I feel like looking at crowds, looking out on people, they want to get the result. They just want to have that. They want to have that weekend. Yeah. And
you're the conduit.
And they just feel like that. Whatever they're drinking, whatever they're taking, is kind of like a means to an end there. And they'll just go to whatever's the lowest common denominator there, and the easiest thing to receive. Cheapest, whatever.
And nowadays it's so accessible, music on their phones, or you can download it. I just blows my mind. I think how fast you can download a whole album. It's 30 seconds. And, And I consciously try and buy new stuff. So I'm sort of, if I'm going to be critical of new music, at least I can sort of compare it to. I do listen to Dua Lipa or Jessie Ware or those kind of singers. So I can actually compare. Whereas kids now, they're so receptive to that technology, and just things happen so quickly.
It's second nature. Once you're born into an industry, it's second nature. I mean, the kids these days don't know what a touch tone phone is.
That's right. Or a dial-up modem.
Dial-up modem. I remember when I was a teenager, I was downloading 64 kilobyte MP3 files. Like,
Yeah.
they sounded horrible.
It's
there was
crazy.
no way that I could play them out.
Yeah.
Not that I was playing them out at that time, but they were just like, it
The
sounded like radio, but like I didn't care. Like it was
just music.
It was just like discovering artists, and there'll always be kids that are discovering artists and doing things.
Yeah.
Like there'll always be that discovery. There'll always be that Marilyn Manson of the era. There'll always be like the weird one of the era. There'll
Thank God
always
for that.
like,
It kind of makes it interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there'll always be like someone that pushes it like the boundaries and does the marketing right. And
like the Gagas of the world. Type thing.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Is that where you got the name of the podcast from?
Yeah. Well, no, it's Radio Gagas based on the Queen song.
Yeah.
Just it means about all kinds of music talk, music Gagas. Chat, so that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Well, we'll wrap it up shortly. A couple of things before we go.
Yeah.
I mentioned at the top of the show that I knew you for a couple of different ways. So obviously the radio aspect through Courtney, but also you're a runner.
Yeah.
Not just any runner. I met you for the first time in person at the Eurobella Ultra Marathon finish line. 56-kilometre trail run through the Adelaide Hills.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's this DJ doing out here in the hills? Were you lost on your way to work? Or no, at all. But so you've come a long way too with your running. Like, it's amazing what you know.
I can tell you the first time that I ran. I don't remember what year that you saw me in that ultra, but I ran that for the first time in a cotton t-shirt, and I was wearing like normal socks. I didn't have and I was in road shoes. I had just run a half marathon, and I thought that I could just make the jump from half marathon to an ultra. And I could.
How'd it go?
I definitely could.
They beat me actually.
It hurt. It hurt a lot. But the after I finished, I got to the finish line, and obviously I went home, had a nap, and I think I played a gig that night, and then I played a second gig right through until 5 a.m. in the morning. So I played...
I had a massive day.
So I started at I got up at 5 a.m. and I didn't go to sleep till 5 a.m. and then I ran 56Ks for the first time ever in my life.
And how long, like 6 hours or something, or 7 hours for that 56?
Oh, for the 56? No, 8.5. 8.5.
8.5 hours through the hills.
Yeah. I only just got sub 6 this year. I mean, that's 8 years worth of trying. 6 years worth of trying. So it's quite a struggle. But the running's going great, and it's been probably my focus while there's been no work on at the moment. Obviously no billable hours, plenty of work hours, no billable hours.
Yeah. Are you being booked for the, I guess now you start to get busier again?
It's a real weird feeling because I am booked out for summer. I've got some gaps in November that I'm still trying to fill, and I doubt will get filled. But there's a couple of dates in December, a couple of dates in January, February's out, March is out. I'm sitting here just going, oh my god, I've got no income, and everything sucks, and
you should enjoy it now while it lasts.
It's gonna be like
your running is gonna be you have to duplicate yourself and make two of you.
Busy. Well, the night job definitely affects the daytime running a lot. I need to try and find a way to make my running my profitable thing.
It would be tricky, make some money out of it. So you go Brooks or Saucony, or what do you wear?
I'm wearing Sauconys, Sauconys and Asics. I don't know. We've toyed with the idea for a while. So I've got a hike group as well.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, I've got a hike group. I've got a running
now for a. How many have you done now?
So we're up to hike number 222. Yeah, so most weekends for the last 4 years we've been going out. Well, 4.5 years. Which has been great. There's a great group that comes out. We get probably maybe 15 people a week that just come and experience the trails. It's real good fun.
It's good size.
Yeah, and that's a beginner hiking group, and I started that because I wanted to bring the joy that I get from running to a wider group. Yeah. And I do that. We do that weekly. It's called 52 Hikes Adelaide. So between the hike group, my personal running, I do a running podcast called the Runner Trucker Podcast, and then I do my personal running. So what is that? Sorry, I said personal running. Yeah. So I feel like there's kind of 4 areas of synergy where there's there's a lot of running, hiking stuff happening in different areas, and I'm kind of seeing I'm kind of thinking of it as a way that I can bring it all together. I haven't quite nailed how it all works, but I definitely think that there's something, you know,
something in that.
I don't feel like I don't feel the need to. I think I'd be a bad coach. But I definitely feel like leading and guiding people around trails and doing that sort of thing is something that I definitely need to get into.
Yeah, it's going in the right direction, that's for sure. 'Cause I love the fact that you've kept at it, the 52 hikes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just it's a solid group now.
Yeah.
It's definitely a cool group. So.
And people love it. Like it brings a lot of positivity and happiness to people's lives, and the results are there. Like we've got people that have gone on to hike base camp of Everest.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've got people that have gone on to trail. They've come out. They've hiked. They've been really interested in talking to me about trail running at the same time. They've gone on and they've run the Eurobilla and the Five Peaks ultra marathons. Yep. We've got a group of people right now that are part of the group that are training to do their first end-to-end Eurobilla. Yep. And one of the guys set the goal at the start of the year and said, "Yep, we're going to do that." So it's bringing that to a lot of people's lives.
It's a launch pad, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you get people in at the base level, because a lot of them they look at it and they're quite intimidated by the fact people run so far and so high and whatnot. But if you've got a nice friendly group that can just bring you in gently, they can go places from there.
And people I feel like the biggest barrier that they always put on is themselves. And they're like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can do this, don't know how to do this. It's like, come down, just rock up within the first 5 minutes, all your social anxiety is going to be gone. Yeah,
that's right. And you wonder why I didn't do it sooner.
Yeah. And there's always someone at the back of the group and they're always going, oh, I'm so slow, I'm holding everyone back. And I'm like walking next to them just going, no, you don't understand. Like the 20 people in front of you, they were all in the same place at the back on their first hike. Everyone's exactly the same. Everyone's getting dragged up the hill. Like it happens. So the group's really good. We've got people that lead now when I'm not available anymore. But 221 hikes thus far.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's working well.
Really,
thank you.
I do follow it.
Thank you.
I haven't made it out yet, but
that's okay.
When we had kids are older.
one of my friends joined on the first week that I put it up on Facebook. So hike 1, he never came out to the hikes. Yeah. Hike 200 is when he made it out. So he joined the group on the first day.
He's a slow burn.
4 years later, he came out.
And now is he coming out regularly, or has he just done one?
He's done like maybe 3. Yeah.
See you at 400.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Cool. Well, and so finally, I'd like to give you, or you give yourself a bit of a plug. So where can we find Ryley's events? And
I don't really. So I do like a lot of weekly gigs. At the moment I'm playing sometimes at the Marion Hotel, play at the Maiden Magpie on Fridays, Saturdays, a lot of private shows. I've got a company called Tennyson Events, which is on Tennyson spelled like the suburb, Tennyson events. If you just type that in, it's url.com.
So it's TENNYSON.
Which is my middle name. So they've got we do a lot of long-term hire stuff and for venues, and I'm trying to. Well, I am getting into a little bit more of curation kind of thing, and I'm working on a project at the moment where we're putting a DJ, a singer, and a bassist together. Nice. So there's like lots of live elements happening, and a saxophone player in there as well. So it's like the DJ is the bass, but like we're adding like lots of elements around and getting like Miami vibes out of it.
Cool.
And I'm really enjoying that side of things. I'd really like to get into a little bit more of that arrangement. When it comes to my personal gigs, like you can check out my Instagram, Ryley Smithson, or Ryley.com.au, all sort of thing, but I haven't looked at my website in a while. It's due for a refresh.
Still there, so
yeah, it's due for a refresh. And I just like if anyone's interested from the running world, I just put up a video on my YouTube of me and my friend did a 118 FKT. So I just did a YouTube video about that as well.
FKT meaning fastest known time.
So
you set the, I don't know if like the record, it is a record for that section of running. Was it a trail? Yeah, it was a trail, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's semi-trail. It's like a walking trail. So a lot like kind of 50% road, 50% shared trail kind of thing. And so me and a friend did that, and I was. It was good fun, nice day out. There's no races on at the moment, so
you've got plenty of time to go out there and enjoy running. Running. So I personally vouch for you with the functions because you did my 40th a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And without giving away Courtney's age, she turns 40 next year. We're going to book you again for I think it's next year.
Yeah.
Actually, I should know. I don't. She's 81, baby, I think. But anyway, so baby, well, it was a great night. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I didn't stop dancing all night. I don't think. So.
Yeah, it was really interesting because I feel like you're from a different. You've got a different set of genres and a different set of favourites from what I did, but they're just slightly older than mine.
Yeah,
it wasn't much. So like there was some crossovers, but
disco in there, and
I really enjoyed working out that crowd and playing to that because it was just kind of like a slightly different point.
Well, that's how you started off, like the older, like the Stevie Wonder type Superstition song, and you built up to like the newer.
Yeah.
And you were good. Like you were critical of my list because you're like, I like your list, Ben, but the song "Candy" by Dylan Francis is like a doof song. Doesn't belong in this list, Ben. Like, you're right, actually. So.
Yeah. So you when you see a crowd and you know what they're in for and stuff, it's nice to have that flexibility. So thanks for.
Yeah, you did really well. So thanks so much for coming along today.
No,
it's been. I could talk to you like a couple of hours about stuff about music, especially. So it's been fascinating insights into the industry, and I really appreciate your time. So,
cheers.
So make sure you give Ryley a like and a follow, and say g'day on the trails if you're runners. So, cool. All right. Thanks, Ryley.
Thanks.
Thanks once again there to Ryley for his time and words of insight into his areas of the industry, especially into the background into how radio song selection works. That was very interesting to listen to indeed. And I think we'll try and get Ryley back. Again, we could have talked for a lot more than we did today, and there's a lot more we can talk about, I think, in more specific parts of the industry itself. So he was very positive about the current state of the play with music, and I'd like to get into that deeper, I think, because we have obviously heard a lot of other negative stuff about digital music, so it's always good to get a bit of balance there. So we'll get Ryley back at some stage soon. Now, episode 15 coming up very soon. I'm just trying to tee up an interview with the owner of the record store around the corner from my house at Rock Therapy Records. I'm quite a regular visitor there now, and I'd love to get their views on how physical stores fit into the music industry in this day and age, especially. We know how challenging it's been for video, and how most of the video rental stores around the place have all closed down. So what is it about music stores that make them more enduring? I think that'll be a very good question to find out an answer to. Alright, so before I go, just a quick, around the world news recap, because it's been a few weeks since my last podcast, so I'll keep it very brief though. Streaming once again is top of the list, just because it affects so much of the industry and is a huge talking point in so many ways. Over in the UK and Europe, the governments there, and also some commissions looking into streaming parity, basically, and the fairness of the pay rates to artists. It's a no-brainer to me, and I hope if you've been following this podcast, you can understand why it should be a no-brainer, because for example, you look at Taylor Swift, who just released her new album Folklore a few days ago, and she announced it with no pre-press, so it just dropped unexpectedly and became Spotify's second biggest ever one-day streamed album, opening day that is, ever. Folklore had 80.6 million streams in its first day. Now, I had to clarify this because it didn't that doesn't mean that the whole album was streamed 80.6 million times. It means that songs from the album were collectively streamed 80.6 million times. So that's a very important distinction to make. And the way I looked at it with the formula of the Spotify payout rate. By the way, Drake's album Scorpion has the highest opening day streamed numbers of 132 million streams, which is quite. It's like another 50 million on top of Taylor's, so that's quite staggering. So going by the formula I've been using with Spotify's payout rates and how it all gets divided up amongst all the parties involved. Taylor appears to have walked away with maybe about $140,000 US, so not a whole great deal for 80 million song streams. And whereas if people had actually downloaded the music and paid for the album, which in US dollars is $9.99, Taylor would have walked away with about $6 million. So I think those numbers are correct. I'd love it if someone could just verify that for me. But if that's the case, it's quite a big difference, isn't it? So that's the reason why they're looking at these rates overseas, investigating whether that's actually a fair rate. It's not, but hopefully that'll be the ultimate conclusion. And in that vein, the streaming platform Sunstream, SONSTREAM, who I've talked about previously, who have their pay-per-play platform with payout rates up to 20 times greater than Spotify, have been getting some really great reviews online, a lot of chatter, a lot of retweets on Twitter. So if you're an artist, singer-songwriter, I would definitely recommend you looking at Sunstream and looking at how you can get your music onto that platform, because the payout rates make it worth your while, definitely. So big ups to those guys. They're doing a great job over there. It's great to see someone taking a bit of a risk and doing the right thing, or trying to buy artists, and hopefully they'll just get bigger and bigger, and their model will become the dominant model in the near future. All right, well, that will do for the episode this week, and hopefully you're all well, and I will catch you again for episode 15. Bye for now.